Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to speak in favor of Mr. Kilde's amendment. My friend from North Carolina talked about Americans succeeding when they have the innate will to do it for themselves. She's right. It does take the innate will to achieve for yourself to rise up the ladder, but it also takes some help. It takes some context. Here's what Mr. Kilde's amendment is about. It's about a 4th or 5th grader who lives on an Indian reservation, who goes to a school, whether it's on or off the reservation, usually off the reservation in the case of this title. And the teacher notices that the 5th grader isn't getting her homework done on a regular basis, that she's very bright in class, she seems to be very engaged, but she rarely turns her homework in. And they do a little investigation. They find out that that's because the 5th grader lives in a household where no one went past the 8th grade in her home. So the help that a lot of us had, where our mother, our father, or a sibling helped us figure out a math problem or helped us write a paragraph, she doesn't have that opportunity. She may well have the innate will to do it herself. What this program says is we'll channel that innate will, and there'll be an after-school program for someone like her to help her with her homework, a homework lab. Or there'll be a study center on her reservation in her neighborhood with a tutor or a teacher to help her do her homework. Do we want to have that or not? That's the issue raised by Mr. Kilde's amendment. Now, the other side, their core argument is let the local school district decide whether to have that or not. That presupposes that the mothers and fathers of that 5th grader and others like her have relatively equal political power to the rest of the community. Really? Really? This is a lot like the migrant workers amendment that we had a few minutes ago. Do you know what it's like to be in a family of a migrant worker? You go to school from January to April in Florida. Then you pick up in early April and move to New Jersey. And you go to school in New Jersey for April, May, and part of June. Then the summer ends, and in September you go down to Virginia or South Carolina or perhaps North Carolina. You work there until you get back to Florida and start the cycle over again. Your parents don't vote at all. They certainly don't vote in the school district because they don't live there. And if the local Board of Education has to decide whether to get rid of the junior varsity soccer program or the migrant children's education program, how do you think they are going to vote? Now, I'm not suggesting any bias or bigotry or illegal discrimination. I'm suggesting political reality. Kids who come from abused home backgrounds, migrant labor backgrounds, Indian reservations, and yes, children of color in this country have historically had less political power than other groups, and they still do today. So when you vote on Mr. Kilde's amendment, think about that 5th grade girl on that Indian reservation. I think she's got every bit as much of innate will to achieve as anybody up here. What she probably doesn't have is a mother or a father or an aunt or an uncle who's gone to school who can do an algebra problem or help her finish a research paper about American history. It is not American history that bias used to exist. It is American reality that exists today. That is why we need Mr. Kilde's amendment. Vote yes.